And welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm your host, Michelle Graves, affectionately known throughout the United States for the last 30 years as the Money Lady. I'm an officially senior citizen, I guess you can call it that, but I'm still alive and kicking. And as always, I'm delighted to be in your homes for the next hour. I have a phenomenal guest, as always, to help you to elevate you and your family. And by giving you exposure to things that are going on out here and to enable you to make good, sound decisions for your life. I'm about improving the quality of your life and outcomes, positive outcomes. That's really what it's all about today. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my first guest and only guest for this entire show, Tandy Pryor. And she is a personal coach. And so she's going to talk about coaching, what's involved. You've heard it bantered around over the years, but I brought you the real deal. So I'm honored to have her in the studio, and she's going to share her perspective on a variety of subjects. But for those of you that are stuck, whether it's stuck in your personal life, stuck in your business life, stuck in your job, you need to listen, because she can give you some answers and possibly solutions, and we'll see where it goes. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad to have you fly in. I mean, my goodness, you were on a flight all night, or what? How long did it take you to get here?
Oh, 6 hours.
Ooh-wee. Coming from Seattle, Washington?
Yes. Yeah.
A beautiful place.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time there. I love it there.
I know. It's so beautiful.
It is.
The people, it's just a beautiful area of the country.
It really is.
It is. I'm glad to know. I'm glad you're here today. Where do we want to begin? Let's talk about you and what your background is, what got you involved in this industry.
That's kind of a long question, but it's a good question.
Okay.
I feel like I trained my entire life for this work that I do now. Everything that happened to me, every wound, every good thing, I feel like really set me up to do this body of work, which I started 6 years ago when I turned 50.
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
Okay.
So I have worked continually with entrepreneurs or with small businesses for most of my career in a variety of different types of businesses.
Okay.
And I think the biggest turning point was I had a near-death experience in my 30s.
Oh, my goodness. Tell me about that.
It was during childbirth. I
Oh,
had
my goodness.
what they called it was an amniotic embolism. And I survived it, which is very unusual. It was the head of the department that decided that's what it was. And I don't know what it was, but I was definitely different after that. And I started on a path of a whole different way of seeing the world and seeing things and learning, and much more empathetic and much more about learning and growing. So I started taking classes around sort of healing work and also coaching.
Okay.
And I did that for several years. I just didn't own the coaching piece.
Okay.
Yes.
But you own the healing piece.
I owned the healing piece.
Oh, that's another show.
Right? Yes, when I turned 40, I found myself divorced with 3 little kids. So I kind of went backwards more into, I can't make money doing that and all of those.
I understand.
Yeah, so I went back into doing real estate and that type of thing, but I still took courses and educated myself and did all types of different coaching and healing modalities. And I just decided at 50, I wrapped all of that up and started my business. And it's 6 years later, and it's going fantastically.
But you know what? I think business success to a large part is doing the thing that you have a passion about.
Absolutely.
I believe that.
And that's really a lot about that I teach, is to get in touch with that passion.
How does one get in touch?
I believe that is a process, first of all, of really owning your voice and owning that, like in your life, with people around you, Are you really saying the things that you want to say? Are you really owning the things that you want to do? Or are you settling? Most people are here to do work that matters, or they want to do work that matters. Yet a lot of times they settle because they think they can't do that because they have to do this other thing because of the finances. And that might be true to an extent, but when you're ready, and you realize that it's time to step really into your, what I call your authentic power, and do what you're here to do, that it's no longer comfortable settling.
I know. Now talk about, this is a powerful term, authentic power.
Yes.
What is that?
I'm starting a movement around that.
I'm in.
Good.
I'm
see
in.
So many people deny that power because they don't like the word power, especially women. They feel like it's, I even saw a panel where they were talking about that. I don't like power because they thought it was used, and in the corporate world they'd been in, they felt like people that were powerful were not collaborative and taking advantage of other people and that type of thing. And what I mean authentic power, it means really getting in touch with you and who you are and what your experiences are in your life and what you're here to do and be and what's your passion. And it begins by really honoring those and getting in alignment with all of those things that we talked about, like your inner voice, your take direct action to get what it is where you want to go.
Doesn't that require, though, a commitment to some degree of self-reflection?
It's very much so. Very much so. And that's a lot what coaching is. I mean, most people want that, but there are invisible barriers between what they say they want and where they are and where they actually want to go. And they can't always see what they are.
Is it because of fear?
Yes. And experiences and drawing on the past and bringing that forward to try to heal or try to get new answers with past experiences.
Okay, rather than looking at a past experience as a negative experience, because sometimes memories are very painful.
Right, they
and
are.
People don't want to move forward because they keep regurgitating into the present, into the now, that past experience.
That's in one coach's terms, one of the coaches that I hired, you were never allowed to use the word struggle because he said that struggle is completely between your ears. I believe this. And it is bringing past experiences forward to get insight on current situations, and it doesn't work. Wasn't it Einstein that said, you can't heal a current situation with the thinking that got you there?
I don't know if it was Einstein, but that's certainly
it's something
good.
around that. I don't think I kind of butchered that a little bit, but it's something.
That's okay.
Right.
That's okay. He needed a coach, by the way.
Yes,
I was
he
just
did in
reading some
ways.
stuff about Albert Einstein and his behavioral issues.
I don't know. What kind
Oh my words. Albert Einstein was, I think he had a mental disorder.
Really?
No, his marriage was, he was very cruel to her, extraordinary. And she actually was a collaborator on many of his scientific theories, and he just wrote her off.
I need to read about that.
No, I was reading, when you brought up, I said, no, she did not bring up Albert Einstein.
Yes, he had some brilliance in there.
He's a brilliant man, but he was completely and totally all-centered.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
And then he married his cousin. He divorced his wife, and then he married his cousin.
His first cousin?
It's really different.
Wow.
Wow, I know.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Thank you
That's
for
what
that.
I said. Oh,
yeah.
Who knew?
Thank you for that piece of knowledge.
Yeah.
I'm not going to quote him until I read
the rest
of that.
You want to read the story. I will never detract from his brilliance, but he had some major issues around women. Yeah, that played out in a very bad way.
That's not all right.
That's not all right. He
No,
needed
that's not
you.
all right.
He needed a coach to help him to
Yes.
be a more rounded personality.
Yes.
Really.
Very interesting.
Yes, brilliant man, but completely and totally, in my opinion, dysfunctional when it came to personal relationships.
I have never read anything about that.
I just read something last night because I'm reading all the time. And so when you brought him up, I was like, I don't remember anything he said, but I can tell you a lot that I read that was like, oh no, you're a bad boy, you know, bad boy. But anyway, shifting off of him, this issue of power, why do you think people are so reluctant to embrace it as a positive? Why is it always viewed as a negative?
I'm really learning about that. Why is that? And it really seems like they don't like the description of it or what it means to them, or things that they have looked at it in a way where people use that in a way that wasn't good, like power, more on the external side instead of that inner power. Because what I find is when they actually own their power and they own their gifts, that in the inside work, they make more money.
Well, they would have to.
Yes.
They would have to, because, again, the inconsistency between the inside and the outside causes a disconnect.
Yes.
And I do believe people pick that up.
Yes.
I do. I don't know why, but I just believe that people recognize, as the young people say, it's called fakery.
Yes.
That's what they call it. They call it fakery. They're fake. You're like, well, what is that? Fakery, because the inside doesn't line up with the outside. They animated, blah, 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 but on the inside, they're just completely clueless.
We sure have a lot of that.
Yeah, we
the
do.
inside with social, I feel like with social media, it really feeds what you're saying about the inside not matching the outside.
Well, you know, there's a funny little Facebook script where people, when they portray the outside, she looks glamorous and she looks marvelous. And then you look at her, then it shifts to what she really looks like.
Yes.
And it's rough.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, that's hysterical. I mean,
you know that goes on, though.
Oh my gosh, you know it does.
You
know it does. People, I was watching another vignette where the girl wanted to date the guy, but she couldn't vet him through social media because he didn't participate. And she was just flipping because she had no way to know whether he was social media authentic.
Yes.
And he was really authentic. And she was like, oh, no, I don't want anybody like that. I need him to be over here like that.
That was a mistake.
Oh,
Probably.
my goodness. It was.
Yes.
It was. And he basically said, no, thanks. I'm not doing that. You know,
I think we're going to see more of that.
Oh, I think we are too, because I'm going to tell you what I have found is I am looking for the authentic person.
Yes.
Because I don't believe you can be empowered unless you start first with yourself.
Yes.
You have to be real with who you are.
Yes.
Good, bad, ugly. It's just better to be real with who you are and go from there. What are your thoughts on that?
I believe what you're saying is 100% true. And I think that there's an awful lot of people in a lot of pain. And that's why I do the work that I do, is because I'm committed to helping people get out of pain.
How
and
do
they
you
are in
do
comparison.
Yes.
When you're on social media and you spend all day long looking at other people and their lives and what they're doing and what they're not doing, and the whole generation lives in comparison, that is one of the most toxic things you can do. You be you and be the best version of you.
But what if they don't know what you is? Because we're
we've got
now in a generation.
I think we've got a lot of people that aren't really in touch with that. And even people our generation, when you really ask, I'm shocked at how many people really don't know what they want or need. They don't really know themselves.
But don't you think that's a result of being in a comparative mode?
Yes.
24/7.
24/7.
Oh, look at what and selfies. Oh my
Selfies.
gosh, selfies.
I think selfies are fun. I mean, Yes, there's certainly a plethora of them.
Oh, yes.
Yes, they even, I mean, even now there's the
stick.
stick.
Click, click. I said, what is that? And they said, it's a selfie stick.
Right.
I said, does it attack you? Does it get you free admission? What does it do, this thing? And they said, no, it takes pictures at the right angles.
Yes.
So you can do this.
Right.
You can do that. I said, but
It's usually from above.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Ah, there's God. I said, this is absolutely hysterical. I thought it was hysterical. They were not laughing. They were like, you're so old school.
Uh-huh.
You are so. I said, I just can't imagine a person taking pictures and finding themselves in that picture. I
Yes.
guess it depends on what angle you have.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's part of the comparison. And look what I'm doing, and look at everything that, and I think it's an issue. I think that it's an issue that people are spending their days all day long, especially the younger ones that are doing that. It's Instagram and Snapchat, and they've moved on. We took over Facebook. They left that a long time ago.
They're done. They're
I'm
gone.
having to learn Snapchat just so I can keep up with my
Well,
kids.
I can't. My
don't do very well with
4-year-old is trying to teach me, my little grandson, but I'm like,
He knows how to use it?
let me tell you, he was with me the other day, and he wanted to see something on Netflix. Just turned 4, and I said to him, I have an iPhone. He said, well, if you have an iPhone, Mimi, then I'm going to download Netflix because I have an account. Did you hear me?
A 4-year-old?
A 4-year-old. His father said it. He went into my iPhone. What's your password? And bing!
Had Netflix?
Had Netflix and was watching it. And then that's what I did.
There's some racy things on there.
I was like, he said, oh no, I want to see a baby movie. This is what he watches, baby movies. And he said, I want to see a baby movie. And he was watching it. And then I said, how did you do that? And he said, I'll teach you, Mimi. I understand. It's like,
wow.
Wow.
We sound really old while we're talking. I just heard how loud we sound.
Yeah. So it's on my phone right now. It's on my iPhone, the app. I have no idea how to get in it. I have no idea how he got in it.
Well, you'll have his account if you.
I can't. But this is the kind of stuff that I said, the distortion of reality. That's not real. Mm-hmm. That, in my opinion, and I have to caution because I say everything anymore, in my opinion, because one of the things I've learned with this authenticity thing is it's only your opinion. So if you don't have a voice, then can you have power? Question
I don't
mark.
think so.
I don't either.
Well, you could have power, but it might be the type of power that people are referring to where it's not used for good.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to acknowledge that the word has historically meant, putting your will on someone else.
Yes.
And I'm talking about a movement to really help entrepreneurs who I coach entrepreneurs, but not exclusively, really find that their own wisdom. Because I think there's a lot of people borrowing other people's things with this comparison piece, and really getting in touch with themselves. What lights them up? What do they like? What do they really want?
That is, in my opinion, what empowerment is really about anyway.
It is.
And I'm a strong believer in self-empowerment, which is you have got to be authentically you.
Yes.
I mean, no game.
That's what I have found with people in business, entrepreneurs, people really getting in touch. That's much more frightening than borrowing somebody else's stuff or living up to someone else's ideals or measurements. When you really own what you're here to do, that can be some of the most frightening things anywhere.
I can only imagine.
But I
can
have
only
seen
imagine.
that equate when people really do the inner work
Okay.
and they really own their power. That's where it comes out in more profits, more peace in their relationships, just a more alive feeling and more
Balance.
satisfaction and balance, all of those things that
Yeah.
people really want.
So it is not the quest for money that satisfies the inner man. It's really being able to pursue that which you feel connected to, that you feel that you can be passionate about.
I don't think that one has to be separate from the other.
Okay.
I think that what I see is that when my clients own their power, it turns into more profit.
Okay. Translate, because I'm having a hard time understanding what that looks like when you say own your own power.
Okay, so
And she has a flower business.
here's an example. One of my very first clients 6 years ago, she did really well. She didn't own a business, that she worked for a corporate company,
Okay.
but she definitely supported the home.
Okay.
But when she went home at night, she had no power whatsoever with her husband, who didn't work.
Okay.
And I was new to this, so I was watching that, and what really needed to happen was she needed to own her voice and who she really was. She had it at work, but not at home. So I work at
Wow.
that intersection of their life and business with my clients, because one will affect the other. So in this instance, at work, she really had her power and
Handled stuff.
but when she got home, she was completely dominated and didn't speak her truth. And so she was
Miserable.
horribly unhappy,
Yeah.
very stressed out. She monetarily was supporting, kids and private schools and all of
him.
those things, and it looked really good on the outside, but the inside did not line up with the outside. So when I mean that empowerment,
Wow.
that's that inside work.
Can I ask you, because that is a script that is played out all over this country.
Yes.
And in many other Western cultures,
Yes.
where women have moved into the marketplace, moved into the workplace, and are making significant salaries, and yet they found themselves, when they come home, back into the traditional hierarchical mode of home life, which is where's the food, the children, how does that balance out?
It wasn't balancing out in that particular situation, but step by step, she started putting in boundaries and started speaking what she needed and what was needed in order for her to feel happy and satisfied and fulfilled in the other parts of her life.
Okay. That's tough.
It can be, or it can be relief.
Okay.
Because if the pain is so great,
Oh, wow.
most people change when it becomes so painful that they can't take it anymore. So they need
pain
new
will do
information.
things, yeah.
That's what coaching is. It's new information. It's support. It's guidance. It's telling the truth, even though it might really make them mad. But if they ask for help and they ask for breakthroughs, a good coach is willing to tell them the truth.
So in a situation like that, for illustration, she's high achiever at work, very satisfied, happy. Her income supports a family unit.
Yes, nicely.
Nicely. Well,
Yes.
private schools and
Yes.
all that. But where her disconnect is she separates from who she really is to become something someone else wants.
Yes.
Is that what?
And there was a familial pattern there.
I just
Her mother
wonder.
had done the same thing. So she was undoing generational.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That's something.
And by the time we were finished, I without going step by step, it was a step by step. She was she looked different. She was so much lighter.
I bet.
And I want to share this because I think it's so interesting. So we talk about coaching. Part of what I do in the healing perspective is I'm taught about feng shui. Okay to go about that?
Oh yes, we can talk about feng shui.
So it's a little, people can think a little woo-woo, but what I really teach is, it's a very westernized version of how you can recruit your physical space to back up what you want in your life. So in this specific instance, I said, where is your office? In the house, there was an office. And when we got there, everything she had told me and we had worked on was right there. Her office was the dumping ground for the entire family.
Oh no.
She didn't have one place in that 6,000 square foot house to call her own. It was, everything was there.
Because she was the dumping ground.
Yes. Every member, the 3 kids and the husband, had everything that they didn't want, need, or love
in her office.
So the first thing about owning her power was taking back her physical space, her office. And that has happened more than once. I'm using one particular story because that was so impactful. I saw how your physical space can reflect where you're going or where you're stuck. And that, it was right there.
Wow.
Yes. And by the second day after I'd been there, she had cleaned out everything in that office, everything that wasn't hers, wasn't loved, wasn't used, was someone else's. And she put a notice, either get your stuff or it's going to the curb. And then she painted it the most beautiful color that she loved, which was a yellow.
Oh, goodness.
And she framed pictures by her children that looked absolutely gorgeous. So while she was working, that's what she looked at. What lifted her up. Yes.
That is so wonderful. She took control of her environment.
Yes.
Now, those are exterior manifestations. How did her spouse respond? Was he a supportive guy and she just brought all this to the table? Meaning he didn't ask for her to do this. This is what she did by
No, he was not supportive.
But
it's okay. She did it anyway.
Right, because she had to be the change agent.
Right. And they stayed married. They stayed married. And they still are.
Okay, good.
But she was my client. And she had to do her work. And he didn't embrace it, but he wasn't, he wasn't negative necessarily. There was at times. But she needed to be in a different place. And so she did her work. It really wasn't about him. It was all about her.
Right.
And what she was getting out of being in that situation that didn't work and staying in it.
Oh my God.
That stuff people don't want to hear a lot.
I know.
That's the deep work. It's people do things because they get something out of it.
So what do you get out of something like that? The satisfaction of knowing that I replicated my mother and grandmother's script?
It could be familiar. It's the devil you know instead of the devil you don't know would be a good way to put that.
That is a perfect expression.
Yes. And it feels familiar, and it may be familiar to be disempowered.
Okay.
Until it doesn't feel good anymore, and the pain is too much.
Yes.
That you need to change it.
Yeah. Either change you or change your situation.
Yes.
One or the other.
Yes.
Something's got to give.
It's very true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I see this with entrepreneurs a lot too. I work almost exclusively with female entrepreneurs. I've coached some men that really get this, that are amazing to work with too.
They are, yeah.
Almost always, when I work with women that are in charge of generating their own sales or running their own businesses, there's some leveling up that needs to happen
I
in
agree.
some relationships, either at work or at home.
Right.
That's
I
just,
totally
this is
agree.
just part, everything we're talking about is part of it. But I think it's good to see that you can change your physical environment, though, to really support the change you
you're
want in
doing.
your life.
That is absolutely wonderful.
Yes, it's powerful.
I mean, that's powerful.
That's power.
And to let those who are in your circle know, this is exactly what I'm doing now.
Yes.
Why is it so many times people feel uncomfortable with people, individuals expressing that truth, which is, this is where I am and this is where I'm going to be? Why is it that many times people don't respond well to that?
I think human beings like to collude.
Ah.
They want people, this is tough, right? This is hard. Well, as soon as you're like, well, not really, that automatically, in my opinion, we're in a colluding society. There's other cultures that aren't so much like that. But this culture, the way it is, it's very much about, it's tough, it's hard, and everybody being on the same team. And as soon as you start to separate and you want something different and you take the steps to do that, then you distance yourself from the crowd.
From the crowd.
And everybody mostly wants to belong.
Wow. But it seems to me that the entrepreneur has a different spirit anyway. Because it takes, I'm a businesswoman. I've done business since my 20s, 40-something years, and I was different.
Yes.
And I was different in a time where that wasn't so good, Tandy. It was not good to be different 40 years ago.
I know.
Oh.
You're a pioneer. I'm glad that you were. I'm glad you were doing
there
that.
There are those that'll say, "Oh my God, she's still around." Yeah, I outlived you. Yeah, I did that. But I think entrepreneurs are wired for that change element, because you have to be swift on your feet to do things.
Yes.
You have to
some
be.
are and some aren't. But yes, you're right. I know that entrepreneurship and personal development go hand in hand.
They do.
You can't have, my opinion, I don't think you can have one without the other. You can. It makes it harder.
I think you're right.
Yes.
Because I look back in my 20s and the things I did, and I was outrageous, Tandy.
I love that.
I know.
I love that.
And
my
you're
dad
such a
pioneer.
And my daddy.
You're so lucky to have a dad that.
Can you
when
imagine?
you told me that story.
Oh my goodness gracious, Tandy. Let me repeat this to the audience. I have to tell you this story if you want to know why I am the uncontrolled woman I am today. It is because of my daddy, who was an alpha male in the day. Truthfully, folks, when black men that were alpha males might disappear. But long story short, I went to a very prestigious school in Cincinnati. My fields were math, physics, and science. I loved them. I wanted to be a scientist. And we were coached, if you want to use that term, by our high school counselors. Those of us that were children of color were coached to become secretaries if you were female, and maintenance men if you were male. And I never forget, I came home and I told my father, I said, well, my counselor said she wasn't pushing me to be a good scientist, she wanted me to be a good typist. And he stopped eating and looked at me and said, what did you say? And I told him. And the next day, my father was at my school. Unbeknownst to me, he came in, he wanted to speak to the counselor. And then they called me in, and I sat with my father. My father pointed his finger at her, and he told her, you will never, ever say anything like that to my daughter again. He said, she has said she wants to be a scientist, and this is what we are directing her to be, and you're going to come into agreement with us. He said, that you're going to do today, now. And the woman was absolutely shocked. She was a German woman. I never forget it, a very large, heavy countenance German woman. And my father, when he pointed, he said, "Do you understand?" And she looked at him and she said, "Yes, I do, sir, and we will not have to have this meeting again." Needless to say, my entire
Good for
curriculum,
him.
my entire, everything changed.
I love that
Everything
story.
changed. It's the truth. It is the truth. And he always said, nobody owes you anything. Get out here and carve your own stuff. That's what he
Yes.
said. And that's what I did. And I told him, thanks. I really appreciate this. I really appreciate you directing my life in this way, because nobody else is feeling this. And it didn't matter to him, because he just didn't care. He was like, you're going to learn that. As a female, you must learn to direct your own life.
That is
And so
powerful.
I did.
That's
Yeah.
powerful action too.
It is.
I love that he marched right up there.
Oh, he was so profound on so many levels, and I don't want to get into daddy love, but I will say that I don't care what the myths say about African American men, there were and there continue to be powerful African American men who understand and get it. And if you don't have a good daddy, find a man that you can mentor and be a part of your world that can help to affirm and establish you, because it'll change your world. It just will. Isn't that so important?
It's so important.
I was just reading on last night was my reading night. New York Times did a whole series about estrangement from families.
Oh, really?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. The number of people that have severed the cord because of dysfunctional parents. And now psychologists are looking at this and determining that there may be some value to this.
Separating.
To separating.
Yes.
And then they invited their readers to respond. And you should have read the responses.
Oh, I'll look that up.
Please do. There were literally
Yes.
thousands of people that said, I haven't spoken to my mother in 30 years and don't plan on it. I mean, this is stuff like, what? And the things that people have gone through that have impacted on their filtering.
Yes.
When you talked about getting the inner self.
Yes.
Family
Yes.
played that big of a role in coaching?
Yes.
Do they have issues?
Yes. Everyone.
God.
And they're not, I think that it's oftentimes a mix.
Yeah.
But nobody gets out of childhood without some type of trauma.
Isn't that the truth?
Yes.
All of us.
And I see that. You know, oftentimes people will unconsciously replay things over and over again.
Because they're stuck?
Because they're stuck and they can't see that. They can't see that they do that. They'll find people that don't really serve them, like partners in life,
Yes.
or husbands, or you know, wives, or that they don't necessarily even know why they're doing that. And sometimes just shining a light on that or the situations will be enough to go, huh, I'm not going to do that again.
Right.
Yeah, and it goes into the more conscious instead of the subconscious.
And so as a coach, you would be able to identify patterns of behavior that are holding them back from their self-actualization?
Yes. Well, I help them see it also.
Okay. Cannot see it. We are blind to ourselves.
A lot of times. And I think that is a strength of mine, is the intuitive piece, is to be able to see and help them see what they can't see for themselves. So they can get new information, so they can get out of the pain that they're in. My
goodness gracious. And many of your clients are female entrepreneurs.
Yes.
That's got to be something. That's got to be so exciting.
Work. It really
is
wonderful
work. Such a time
work.
as this.
Yes.
I mean, really.
It is.
Such a time as this.
And it is just getting
more
needed and more seen and more exciting, and it is. And the coaching industry is doing fabulously. I would have to say so. Yes. I would have to say. So what are some of the, when you talk about people trying to get it together inside through self-reflection, and you're there helping them to look at patterns of behavior, how do you know when a person has broken through? Do they tell you, or do you see a change in their outlook? What are some of the indicators? I think the biggest indicator is them. They feel better.
Oh my goodness, they actually feel better.
And sometimes you can see it. Like when
Ah,
they really release something that no longer serves them,
yes.
I think there's a physiology, there's obviously mentally, there's a lifting and they look different, they speak differently, and they show up in the world differently. Like one of my sayings, if you talk to anybody that's worked with me, is you don't get results by what you say or do, but who you're being.
The power of
Yeah,
be.
that inner work.
My goodness. And that
Yes.
is where the challenge is, I think, in terms of just self-transformation,
Yes.
which is how do I find my true self? That knowing that DNA brings us to the table with a history that we didn't control.
And situations that we bring and choose, and a lot of times people are living up to other people's expectations to the point that they don't even know who they really are.
I think that's a big one.
I think that's what's happening.
I
Is
think
people are
that's a
really
big
waking
one,
up right now.
which is, wait a minute.
Yes.
Is that my grandmother talking to me?
Yes, yes. You know, I want to
My
say this.
goodness,
I see
Tandy,
this
say
in
it.
these young girls, the young girls in their early 20s. Then, and not just the women, but that's where I have seen it. They go and they get a degree in something. I could tell you more than half of my daughter's friends, who's 25, did not want to do what they graduated in. They have no idea who they really are, what they want to do. I don't think that's a brand new phenomena, but I think that we need to address that. They're just going to school to get, and it's obviously not just women, but I see it there and it plays out.
Well, so they go to college and they major in a field that they don't want to do anything
And then
in.
they get out and they get jobs that they hate.
Oh my goodness.
I've seen it a lot lately.
Then Tandy, we already know that outcome.
Exactly.
You're going to look old and tired by 35. Am I
Yes.
right? Or they're not going to
Yes.
look like you and they're not going to look like me. They're going to be old and tired and probably start having children.
Right.
Yeah, to try to soothe it out,
Right.
smooth it out.
Or keep taking jobs that don't serve them, that they, what do they call it? Their language they use now on Sunday night is the Sunday night scaries.
Yes.
Right, like the week, and I'd never heard that.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It's the scaries.
The scaries.
The scaries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of going, I can't wait for this week to start. I love what I do.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't have to be hard. That's what I love about what I do. Is like, how do you find ease in that too?
Right.
We're talking about some deep things and how you get there, but the idea is to have some ease and flow and success. And when you bring more money or profits into your business or your life, you have more options.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. But I do feel that in America, we paint a very unrealistic picture of life and success.
Yes.
No, I think
it's not just money.
Oh my goodness gracious, you can't take that
no.
stuff with you. Piece of paper that comes from a tree. That's real interesting. But when you look at the fact that a person would defer their true, authentic destiny, meaning I believe people have been wired to do certain things.
I agree.
And when they don't do it because of fear and rejection and
Programming.
then you wind up having a zombie culture. I came up with that term. I didn't. A zombie culture. You got people going through the motions that on the inside are angry. They got to be angry.
Yeah.
How can you do that job every day and not be angry? And if you're not angry, your senses have become so dull that you become a zombie.
Yes, a very unhappy
A
one.
very unhappy one. Scripted out.
Yes.
I mean, maybe productive for the society, but in terms of yourself, you're dying on the inside. I have to believe that.
I see that.
Yeah, I have to believe cancer comes from that stuff. You're toxic. I mean, you're toxic. It has to come to an end. The body cannot function like that. The body cannot function like that, Tandy. People have to be fulfilled.
Yes.
They do.
There's a lot of people that don't ever get fulfilled.
And then they die.
Yes. That's why I'm really,
Oh.
that's why I do what I do.
Oh, and
I'm
you do
in
it so
service
well.
to help people out of pain and into ease and authentic power, and to get them, I sometimes refer to as out of the passenger seat and into the driver's seat.
Ooh-wee. Now you're asking a lot for a lot of people.
I am?
I think so, because I think a lot of people have been programmed, particularly females, less so males, but to be accepting and to just be a good girl. Just be a good girl.
I didn't do a very good job of that.
I did it. I pointed to my was he.
Yeah.
You created this monster. Don't
Yes.
be mad. He said, I like it. But
And you are right.
the good girl syndrome.
Right.
You're supposed to get rewards for being a good girl.
And if they want change and they desire change, people are out there to help them.
Yes.
And you're right, that unfortunately there'll be a lot of people who don't.
But
ever.
you find those people
Yes.
like yourself
Yes.
who are available to help them through this.
I
can
lived
come
it.
into their, yeah.
You know, I lived it. I've been there. I mean, I do this work because I didn't have authentic power.
Yes.
I did all of the things that I teach,
Yes.
including the divorce and
Yeah.
the single parenthood and the scrapping around to survive for a while. I've done all of that.
It's very humbling.
It's very humbling.
Yeah.
And it's also a gift.
I think it is.
I wouldn't change it, because I wouldn't change who I am now. And I wasn't like this before all of that happened.
But you're such a wonderful person.
I had to work very hard to get
I
back
just-
up on my feet after all of that. And I am not going to let all that wisdom and experience and all the learning and all of that go without putting it to use to help others.
I think that is a powerful statement right there, which is, as you give of yourself,
Yes.
which includes all of your experiences called life,
Yes.
you are what the ancients call a wise woman.
Yes.
Powerful, wise women.
Yes.
Yes.
Own it.
Own it. A wise woman, which means that the experiences that you have called in your life have anchored you in terms of a certain way of viewing life and people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Experiences brought a lot of that on.
Right. Right.
Yes.
Right. I would have to say so.
That main one in my 30s, really, I saw everything differently.
In your 30s?
With the near-death experience that I talked about in the beginning.
Yes. Oh, yes.
It really was a wake-up. It was I guess a spiritual wake-up. Everything was through a different lens.
The fact that you were so near death?
Yes.
That
The
would
only
have to be-
reason I survived is there was a very old nurse. In fact, she retired the next year, and she knew what to do.
You
All
are...
the young ones had never seen it.
And she
Yes.
knew what to do.
Yes.
And you survived because of her.
And they can't, the doctor that was in there, because I completely was purple and all, he said that's what it was, but the only way you tell that is in an autopsy. So I want to say that.
Tell me when they know
Yes.
that you were dead.
Yes.
You were dead.
Yeah.
Ooh-wee.
That you had that. That
You
you had an
had that.
amniotic embolism. The only way to tell is in an autopsy. But the head of the department of the hospital.
That is absolutely
Yes.
astounding. So you are here purposed to
I
do
think
what
so.
you're doing.
Yes.
Oh, no question. Because if things had run by script, you'd be in a box.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hadn't thought of that.
Oh, I have to, because I
Yeah, that
absolutely
way.
believe that there are people who have been given a look at death, and they're still here, and they're here to give insight and knowledge and wisdom to those that don't see it. Because I think the majority of people that are out here today are clueless about the inevitability of you leaving. And what do you leave behind? What do you leave behind for humanity, transcending your family? What do you leave behind? And a lack of understanding that you have been given and designed for purpose and for outcomes, positive, is one of the challenges that we have today. Because people are living lives that are just, I can't even speak to it, it's so crazy.
Yes. I feel very passionate about that wisdom and bringing things from the past forward, the old ways,
Yes.
the stories, the teaching, the wisdom of healing, the natural ways of healing,
Right.
the conversations.
Right.
When you went to my parents' house, I was telling my kids the other day, you stopped what you were doing and you sat on the porch and you talked with absolutely no interruptions. There were no phones. And it feels like a bit of a dying art.
But communication is a dying art that must not die.
Agreed.
I cannot and will not accept that this social media is a authentic form of communication. It is words on print or sounds in the head, but is there connectivity? Am I connecting with you? Do I feel you? I'm not so sure. I still feel that despite all the people that are, quote, Facebook friends, that, again, it's just a page.
Yes.
Okay? That's what it is. Or Snapchat, just a picture. Does it really say who you are and what you're capable of becoming? And what are your children like, your family like? What are your relationships like? You're not going to get that level of authenticity and transparency in a point and click venue. Click, click, point,
Yes.
selfie. Oh,
yes.
No, I don't think so.
I agree with you. That being said, I also really love Facebook for being able to connect with people that I would have never seen again.
I totally agree.
But I think that you have to use it within limits and not as a substitute for the connecting.
I totally agree.
Yes.
Need you to give your phone number, please.
Oh, okay.
For the viewers.
513-652-7231.
Say it again.
513-652-7231.
And you are available for helping people to transition, especially entrepreneurs and women.
Yes. Transition, for support around situations that they can't seem to see what is causing it. There's all types of different things that I help people with.
I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
And I don't say that lightly because I interface with a lot of people. But there's a rare pearl, as I said, oh, those pearls that just illuminate. Because a pearl is self-illuminating. But there are those people out here who are pearls, who illuminate on their own because of the transition that they've had to go through themselves. And so they're out here. And people pick it up, they see it, they don't quite know what it is until they engage. So, concluding on today's segment of The Power of Money with my guest, Tandy Pryor, who is a authentic coach, life coach, a business coach, personal coach. She's an awesome woman. Glad to have her as my guest. If you are stuck, the first thing you need to know is you're not alone. The second thing you need to reflect on is, why am I stuck? And that's what she does. So I appreciate you listening in on today's segment of The Power of Money. And again, as always, I wish you peace, I wish you joy, and I wish you love. You take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.